So there's a lot of people in this world that paint the narrative that 9 to 5 in the corporate world is bad and it's selling yourself short and that you're throwing your life away and you're wasting years. Now, my personal opinion on this is that can absolutely be true. There's a lot of talented people that are living in the graveyard of the corporate world. It is absolutely true. But at the same token, what a lot of people don't talk about is that the corporate world can actually be the biggest blessing of your entire life, especially at the beginning of your career. At the beginning of your career, or at the beginning of your entrepreneurial journey, you're honestly not as experienced as you think you are. You're not as good as you think you are in your domain or in your industry. And a lot of people think that's harsh, or I think a lot of people are just delusional, in my honest opinion. A lot of people fail as an entrepreneur is because they don't have the depth of knowledge, they don't have the practical practice and experience, and they don't spend enough time in a specific industry. Like when I look at a lot of the most successful people, they have decades under their belt in a specific industry. And it's really interesting. It's not about the decades that you spent in the corporate world. It's also about the decades that you spent from 10 years old. Like let's say you're a programmer and you've been developing and coding your entire life since 10 years old. That counts as relevant experience, right? But a lot of people come into it with this ego, with this pridefulness that I'm going to go do it on my own, but I'm sorry to tell you, you don't have the skill sets to do it on your own. You don't know how to sell, you don't know how to speak, you don't know how to package ideas, you don't know how to package a good offer, you don't know how to do it yet, and you don't even have the industry know-how of your given industry. You don't have the industry depth and knowledge that other people do. That's why people are winning in these industries. So the message of this video, in my personal take on this, is don't underestimate the incredible things that can happen in the corporate world before you go become an incredible consultant, before you go build an incredible software or company. Spend time in the corporate ecosystem to have financial stability. You can also make fantastic money. 100K, 200K, 300K a year is realistic if you're smart and strategic and you know how to go from company to company and not sell yourself short and not get stuck in a company that has bad culture and so on. And that creates this incredible stability for your life, and then you can go and build your business on the side and build it the right way. Build it with the right approaches, with patience, with the right systems and so on. And then once you have this experience and you've learned the ins and outs of the industry, you've had good mentors, now go and scale your business to the moon. Scale it as big as you want to scale it. And in entrepreneurship, there's always these core skills that will allow you to get to the next level faster. So if you want to make $1 million a month as an entrepreneur, you have to sell a high ticket product. That's step one. Step two is the number one way and the fastest way to get there is you need to have a sales team that has full calendars, and then you're selling an expensive product. So how do you get there? Well, you solve a big problem. You solve a problem of rich people, and you develop the ability to run ads, you develop the ability to create content, you develop the ability to hire and train great salespeople, and then you turn it into some form of ecosystem. You run a webinar, you run paid ads, right? You spend 80 grand on paid ads, and then you get a certain number of people to register for the webinar, a certain number of people watch, you pitch on the webinar, and then all these people go and book calls with your sales team, and your sales team closes. You end up making anywhere from 300K to $1 million in a given month. So that's the formula. That's literally what $1 million a month entrepreneurs do. But me telling you that means nothing if you don't have these core skills. So again, you have to develop your ability to speak, your ability to sell, your ability to write copy that engages the customer, gets them to want to purchase. You have to learn how to run the ads. Now, of course, you can be strategic and hire people to do these certain things, but not if you don't have capital in the beginning, right? Not if you don't have a foundation. So my message in this video is don't try to be an entrepreneur too early. Go into the corporate world in your domain, become a master, learn from people that have decades of experience, learn from people who have done what you want to do, and then take all of that and apply it, even if it's a side hustle, right? Demonstrate proof for yourself, right? This is for your own sake, for your mentality. Demonstrate proof that you can build a 10K a month side business in your given domain or your area of expertise. Then scale it to 20, 30K a month. Now you're making double what you make at your job. Okay, quit the job, now go all in on the business, but you're going all in on the business when you're at 30K a month, and it's not a financial risk for your life. Because a lot of people make that mistake. The financial risk of jumping into entrepreneurship is hilarious. right? So what do a lot of people do? They'll go and save six months to a year worth of savings. Gives them a nice little runway in their life to go pursue entrepreneurship. They quit their job. They don't have the skills, the know-how, the knowledge, the expertise to go and succeed in business, because being an entrepreneur is extremely difficult. It's like a whole set of skills that you need to have, versus being an employee or working in the corporate world. Like, you just got to be good at whatever your specific job is. And obviously the more you excel, you got to wear different hats and you have to have different skills. That's also true. But regardless, you go and jump into this, you do it for 6 months, you do it for a year, you burn your savings, and then guess what? You come right back into the corporate world. I've seen so many people do that. And I want to say this as well, that you can also own a $10 million a year business and still work in the corporate world if it's something you love, or you love the culture at a company, or you love the fact that this company has incredible benefits. Like, again, the world of entrepreneurship is a whole different beast that I think a lot of people don't quite understand. So the smart way to do this, the smart way to think about 9 to 5 in the corporate world is, I'm going to use it, I'm going to leverage it, I'm going to get the skills, I'm going to get the nice salary, I'm going to develop and grow in my career as fast as possible, and I'm going to develop the industry know-how. If you spend 5 years, 3 years, 4 years, 10 years in a specific industry, you're naturally going to learn the ins and outs, so that when you go build a business in that industry, you have the blueprint. You see how to hire the right people. You know how to develop a team. You know what makes good salespeople and what makes good marketers versus the bad ones. You watch how maybe somebody in your company who's a VP, or a CEO or an administrator, whatever it might be, you watch how they've developed 10 years in this industry. They teach you things that you wouldn't have got. You would have maybe got through trial and error, but we don't want to do that. We want to be smart. We want to be strategic. We want to learn from people's mistakes. You want to learn from somebody who's already done the thing that you want to do. But you don't do that being unrealistic and jumping into it. So the realistic approach, the summary of this video, is get to 100K a month, get to 100K per year as fast as you possibly can in the corporate world. On the side, build a business that does 100K a month, because you can manage both. You can absolutely manage both. And the people that tell you can't just don't know how to systemize, don't know how to, optimize their business or maximize what they're doing within their business. And then now you're double dipping. You have two incredible incomes. If one drops, you have the other one. If you lose your job, you have the stable, incredible business that you've built. If your business crashes, you still have a stable income. You just operate in this abundance mindset. And then from there, again, there's no ceiling in entrepreneurship. There is a ceiling in the corporate world, even if you reach the VP, the C-suite level. But nonetheless, if it's something you love, you can continue to excel. So again, I just want people to be realistic. I want people to be ambitious. And again, anything that anybody has achieved, you can go and achieve too. I promise you that. But do so in a realistic, approachable manner. Don't just jump into something headfirst with no experience, no knowledge. You're just gonna lose. You're just gonna fail at it. Why would you do that to yourself? And I say this to say, as somebody who's jumped in head first and has failed at many different businesses and has done well in a couple different businesses. And it's always when I've taken the time to develop my skills, taken the time to get insider industry knowledge, to dig really deep and find the people who have done the thing that I want to do and then started a business, I've just found so much more success so much faster. So that's the message that I want to share with you, is don't look at the corporate world as this big evil thing where you're going to slave away for 40 years. It could be that if you choose to do that, but that's not growth. So again, use and leverage the corporate world. Go work for a company for a year, develop all these skills, the insider know-how, the knowledge, move to another higher position, right? You're not forced to stay at a company. Companies are not loyal to you, and you don't have to be loyal to a company if that company doesn't have good culture, doesn't have good benefits, doesn't have great opportunities, right? At the end of the day, the company wants to use you for your talents and skills to make more money. And in the same way, you're leveraging this company's capital to finance your life, to allow you to do a great job in your work, and then go build a business in your off hours, right? And that creates your little escape plan of life. And I think a lot of people don't view it this way, and it unfortunately turns them into a wannabe entrepreneur. It turns them into a failed entrepreneur, and then I promise you'll get rinsed out so fast. If you fail enough times as an entrepreneur, you'll never be an entrepreneur. you'll go back into the cushiony, comfortable corporate world. So the idea is you're not going to be in the corporate world for the rest of your life. You're going to be in the corporate world to learn, to develop skills, whether you want to do it for 5, 10, 15 years, and then go start your own version of whatever company you worked for. The options are endless. There's no rules to this. If you're somebody that has the guts and the talents and the ability to go develop the skills in a different way through buying specialized knowledge, right? Finding the right mentor, paying the right person to teach you the certain skills you need to succeed in that given business model, you can do it that way too. But I'm just being realistic because the majority of people have a corporate job right now. The majority of people are currently working a 9-to-5 job, and I'm just trying to help you take the leap in a realistic, approachable way that will allow you to build longevity. It will allow you to build success for a very long time. Because when you build a business on the side and you turn it into a 10, 15, 20K a month business while you're working a corporate job, then you leave that job once your business is actually stable, then you operate and build that business the right way. Instead of quitting your job, going all in on the business, trying to build it with stress and anxiety and so on, it's not going to work. And if you think you need 24/7 to build a good business in this day and age with the technology and the resources that we have, then you're probably not operating in the right business model, right? E-commerce exists. You don't have to package your own products. Consulting exists if you have specialized knowledge, right? You can do that remotely from anywhere in the world. So there are certain vehicles of business that are better than others. There are certain vehicles of business that are much more difficult. It's going to require a lot of talent, a lot of team, a lot of know-how, a lot of skill. But you won't get there by having no skills, jumping into entrepreneurship, getting washed out, and coming right back to the corporate world, right? You have to develop specialized knowledge, and I genuinely feel like that requires time, and it requires this ability to work on yourself and work on your self-development, because it's so important in entrepreneurship. So, right, you can develop, you can grow, work on yourself more than you work on your job, because sometimes a job is also necessary for a certain stage of your life. You have a wife, you have kids, it doesn't make sense for you to just go all in, right? When you don't have responsibilities or you don't have things that you have to take care of, it could be possible, right? You could be young right now too, and if you're listening to this, go all in on your business because you have a shot, you have a window, you have no responsibilities, right? But again, it's still going to require skill. That's the thing people don't talk about. They don't talk about how much specialized knowledge you need. They don't talk about these soft skills that you need to succeed as an operator, as an entrepreneur. So that's my message to you guys. Again, I hope you found this valuable. If you feel like you're at a crossroad or you have a lot of bottlenecks in your business, what I do is help entrepreneurs, startups, and enterprise companies find the bottlenecks in their business, and I help them scale. So if you'd like to reach out, you can reach out down in the description below, and I will see you guys in the next video.